Hi, this is Julie, and today I'm going to show you how to make ringlet beads. I did this a little bit in the Sizzix machine demo, but now I'm just going to focus on making rings. So first of all, I'm going to show you the dies that I sell. This is for the Sizzix machine hand crank or Sizzix switch, which has the electronics so that you don't have to hand crank it, but it utilizes the platforms. So this isn't for your electronic cutters that use your computer, like your Cricut and your Brother Scan and Cut, etc. So the dies that I sell on my site that I really like for this would be the circle die, and then the scallop die. This is inventory number C, A, and then O, which is a soft scallop bead flower. And then this is a little one, and you don't have this. This makes it really easy because these make tiny little ringlets, but you don't have to cut the dies apart as you do on these three, which you do with a wire cutter. So that's how that's done. So as I said, these little dies, you don't have to do it. And on the round scallop bead, I kept the center one intact, and it'll make a really thin one. So I've got three that I would just cut as they are. But how to make custom shapes. First, you have to make a template. So I took a piece of copy paper and I've laid out the shapes that I want to make a template of. And I'm going to run this through the machine. I think I cut that up, and my dies should be ready. So I'm going to take these off and set them aside. So I'm going to be using these again. I'm just making my templates. So these are my templates. Oops, looks like I put double paper through. Great, I've got double templates. I'm going to get these off, take some clean copy paper, move my plates aside, and get a pencil out. And the first thing I'm going to do is fold these guys in quarters. This is a very, very easy way to find the center. Once I find that center, I can mark it, punch a hole in it, do whatever. I'm going to punch a hole in it with my 1/8" hole punch. Let's say that I want this to be my hole, which is looks like it's about 1.5 inches, which will shrink down to give me a 1/2 inch hole to work with. And I'm doing the same. And I'm punching this. And then I can find the center on that, and find the center on that and hold it. And mark. There, I have a nice template that will be for laying out the molds. I mean, the next die cuts when I run through the machine with the real pass. So this one, I'm going to do the same. I will fold this over. And find my center. And I will draw this. Now, if I had cut bigger circles, I would have bigger holes in the center to play with. So that's what's so nice about having that tiered, all the different center holes to work with. So we've got this one. Now we can do one that's small. Well, let's do a round on round. And it doesn't mean that the centers all have to be round. You can do centers that have smaller flower shapes in them and a circle. You can just, the variations, like this could be, you know, this could be a double scallop. I'm just demoing it with circles in the center. And basically using the templates that I have created right here. The variations are quite endless that can be done with this. So going to mark that. And then I'm going to put this on this very large one. So I have a scalloped center. Mark that. And I don't necessarily have to be really perfect with the scallops. I just need to mark my perimeter line. Okay, I've got that. And then let's see, we can do, and that might, I think that gives us enough to play with. So that's how you make the templates. So that gives us, we've got four designs to work with. Now the next thing you're gonna do is get painter's tape. And you can lay this down. I'm laying it down with the cutting edge on this is this little ridge. So I'm laying this with the cutting edge facing down. And then I'm doing the same with this. And I'll just simply make sure that stays aligned, painter's tape on this. And there I have this lined up and ready to go. And I'm thinking that in my past experiences, it hasn't cut the painter's tape off. So I'm going to next do, which one do I have ready to go? This one here. And I would have that circle on it if I'm going to do it. Do you see? I would have used that circle. But let's just run this one. As I see that I had it prepared well for that. But I just want to show you this one right here and see to show you how that goes through. I'm going to line our Sizzix machine up where you can see the process. I've got my plates. I'm going to get my shrink plastic. So I'm just demoing the one here. And I usually put the frosted side against the cutting edge because it has less chance to slip around when I put it into, as I move it down into the machine, if that makes sense. Like when I'm doing this, it has less chance to slip around in there. Open it up. And start my machine. And I reversed it because I'm only doing that little edge there with this. So let's peel that off. Oops, I got a little anxious. I got a little missed cut there. That's easy to fix. I must not have let it pass all the way through. So I just will hand finish that and gently pop this out. And as I said, it doesn't remove this, so you can make duplicates of this if you need it. And what's really nice, if you have bought multiples of the same die, then you can lay them all out on a sheet and do quite a few. But this one will be really fun to play with. So let's line up another one. So I'm getting ready to run this through my machine, and my plates are rather warped. So it takes a little start pushing on this part. There. So I'm demoing on my Sizzix switch. Let me move this in case it doesn't have enough room there. Or you can use your Sizzix Big Shot. I'm going to reverse it. And so this is the next one I'm going to do, putting this in position and this in position, holding those while I put my painter's tape over it, peel it off, eyeball it a little bit, make sure it does feel centered to me, cut excess tape off. Bring my cutting plate over. Set it up. Place my guy on it. Put my top cutting plate on it and feed it into my machine. Time to peel off. It looks like I've, once again, didn't get a clear cut. So when that happens, you can just cut with your fingers, with the scissors. And then let's just be careful when we peel our piece off. And that's really fun. So we've got these 3 shapes. And next I will show you coloring them. So I'm ready to color these, and I think stencils work really nicely on these. So that's what I'm going to demo right now, stencils and inks, and then some pastels and inks. So I'm going to put down, like on this one right here, on the frosted side, I'm going to just burnish on an orange color. And I'm using Hero Arts, the ombre pad. And I like the ombre pads for their versatility. I sell these on my site. because you get a range of 3 colors. So we have a base color there, as you can see. And then I'm going to line this up and put a another color over it. And I'm going to make that color white, if I can find a clean white dauber. So I'm going to use this as my dauber. And make sure that that's centered. Hold it down well. Hold one area down. I don't want my stencil to slip on this. And I want you to see that I've got a pretty strong pattern on there. Now what I'm going to do is burnish off my excess. Blotting, burnishing, making sure, see what came off? That's really important in steps in using stamps and inks. I can come in here with markers or a little colored pencil and add fun light lines between these white lines. And then maybe your eye can't see it, but my eye can. There's another pattern happening within this. As you see, there's a line here, and then this little chevron. So on the chevrons, I'm coming in and accentuating that with a little dot on it. And why? Because it's there. Okay, there's that one done. Now let's go to this one. And this one here, I'm going to do with pastels. So here's my fine grit sandpaper, 200. And then I'm using New Pastels by Prismacolor, and I like to scrape off onto my palette. Okay, I'm going to come in here, the halo of my dark blue. Can you see that? Yeah, I think you can see that. And then come over it with, gonna see how my Vivid Chartreuse is holding up. Yeah, there's enough pigment on that. So once again, holding it down in one section. And I'm just gonna kind of keep this out to the perimeter. Come over here, hold it down, because once again, you do not want that to shift. So I'm showing two different techniques here. One where you take the ink and make your background color, then go over it with ink, and one where you're using pastels and go over it with ink. So there we have this little piece. And I'm going to come in with this with markers. I like the Spectrum Noir, and on mine, what I did, it's really hard to, you can see that that's the color on the cap, but the real true color is this right here. So I took copy paper and I made samples of all of them, taped on them so I wouldn't get mixed up. Now I'm going to do the fine tip on this one. So the other one I use colored pencils on, and this one I'm using markers. I'm just going into the center of that. And I keep these guys in plastic bags so they don't dry out. And once again, that's the Spectrum Noir. And I've got those in bright colors. So we've got number 2. Now we're gonna do number 3. And for number 3, I'm going to do markers. Doing the broad tip. That's a little wider. Okay, and let's see. Oops. I'm going to see if that color's enough of a difference. Yes, it is. Then I'll come in with a Sharpie. Now, I very rarely use Sharpies, and I usually only use them for tiny details or dots. So and the reason being is they're so highly pigmented that people tend to overuse them, and then heat and Sharpies don't like each other because the pigment tends to heat up and can get gummy, and that, and combined with Shrink-Its, can get lots of stains on your molds, which can be cleaned up with alcohol and such. But you also risk of the pigment not embedding deep enough into the shrink plastic when it shrinks down and then laying on the surface and not curing as well as it should and causing it to run on your skin or clothing, especially your skin. So I'm coming in here with this bright. This is just going to be a very whimsical little piece. To make sure I'm using all mediums, I'm going to come in there with colored pencil. we're done. Now, we can get ready to shrink. Now we're ready to shrink, and this is about making flat pieces. Obviously, you could create a slightly domed piece by using the bezel mold, or a cupped piece with a really large hole by using the molds that would work in it is a large bead mold, and possibly the fluted spacer bead mold. These molds here, if you wanted a large hole with a cupped edge, but I'm just showing flat today because this is about making rings. So the best thing is, I really advise you to use a container, and I'm going to tell you why. It contains the heat in there when I'm heating and helps evenly shrink that piece down. If I put it out here, this is a large piece, and while I'm working it, shrinking one area, the other area is getting cold, so it's shrinking and heating unevenly, and that can cause a misshaped bead. Putting it in a container is like creating a convection oven where the heat circulates around evenly. So this is highly recommended, and I have wonderful hand forming kit on my site with a silicone bowl, or you can use a large wooden one. So here we go. And it doesn't matter what side is up or down. And I'm about 1 inch away. And I want to watch it and make sure that it doesn't have any areas where it might touch. And by keeping the heat on that evenly, I got it to shrink down into a very, very even, nice, smaller version of itself without any lopsided. And that's due to keeping it in here. And just watch it on these pieces. Like you saw me grab it really quickly when I saw that that area might touch, and I quickly pulled that apart. So here's our first little fun ring. Now let's do this one. I like to keep the heat down on it straight. It's really important to keep it evenly heated. And it stopped moving on its own accord, and I'm flipping that little guy out. And here I have something that looks like a little orange slice. It's so cute. About 1 inch away. I'm only holding this up for the camera. I would normally be shrinking it flat. I just am trying to get it at an angle where you can see it with me keeping the heat down straight on it. And there we go. And the little block, I don't put pressure on it. I just put the little block on it to ensure that it shrinks down flat. And I have one of these little blocks in my little hand forming kit on my site. So we have these 3 cute little pieces, and that's how you make a ring bead.